The following program may contain coarse language and may deal with subject matter that may not be suitable for a younger audience. Listener discretion is advised. Hello and welcome back to Weird Careers. I'm Eric.
And I'm Steve.
All around the globe, yes, it is round, people get up and head to work.
And some of those destinations stray from the norm of careers.
Everything from set decorators to succulent growers and everything in between.
Our mission is to take a deep dive on the job itself and the people in the industry about how they got there, what they do, and more.
So please join us as we take a journey around the globe and explore these weird careers. If you think that you or someone you know has a weird or interesting job, stick around to find out how you can contact us and support the show. So sit back, relax, and be prepared to learn some cool shit. On today's episode, we have Kris, the Bong Father, who is a glass blower out of Eugene, Oregon. Kris, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. Yep, happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Like I was just saying off the air here, been following you guys for quite some time. Appreciate everything you guys do for the 420 community. Super excited to have you on.
Awesome. Yeah, I love my business, man. I'm so dedicated to it and my team and the culture and the community. And so this is, the lifeblood of my business, being able to come on to shows like this and create content and just, being out there in front of the camera and sharing, entertaining and educating. So this is a wonderful opportunity for me. So let's get it on.
Heck yeah. Before we get into the heat of it, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about the Kris outside of work.
All right. Well, 52 years old. I was raised here in Eugene, Oregon. I've got a couple kids that I am super proud of. They are grown now and have left the coop, so to speak. But that is my greatest joy outside of my work and my business. So I'm actually right now in the middle of building a dream home, a duplex for my mom and I. So
nice.
I'm pretty excited about that. I'm a part of it that is mine. I'm calling the penthouse.
Nice.
And next to that is going to be a home for my mom where aging in place is kind of the dream, a forever home. So
right on.
Amazing.
Yep. I definitely what I enjoy most as far as for peace of mind and health and well-being is getting outside, a lot of adventuring, car camping. We've got so many rivers and lakes. I'm really into like the bushcraft, survival kind of stuff. I do that with my son as much as possible, fishing and then just also sport too. I love sport. I'll meet my brother for some pool later, but basketball or a disc golf.
Nice.
And all kinds of like exercises I do. I have a 28-year glass blowing career, which is very physically demanding, very repetitious. And so just taking care of my body at 52 and still being able to be in it every day is important too. So, that's a big part of my lifestyle.
For sure, especially staying fit, especially in a hot shop, is very important because you're very active in a very hot environment.
Yep, there's a big physical demand in glass blowing, and if you don't have everything, I've known a lot of glass blowers that have succumbed to different repetitive stress type injuries.
Right.
And so in order to mitigate that, just making sure everything is well balanced and strong and stretching and just a lot of mindful practice around that stuff.
So Kris, in a nutshell, could you break down the art of glass blowing and sort of the details that kind of come into how to do it properly and safely and all that?
Well, I would say the first thing that comes to mind if I were to describe glass blowing would kind of historically, you know, it's just it's thousands and thousands of years old, this
Hmm.
process, and it has played such a big role in different cultures, advancements of technology, honestly, and art, and
Hmm.
but also function, so it really, it's at least 2,500 years old, and it goes
Oh
all the way
wow.
back to ancient Egypt, through the Roman times, and then
Hmm.
even through the medieval times in Europe. Like, it was significant. It's played a significant role in people's lives and culture. Even one like an unknown, interesting fact is that one of the those boats that first came over in the Mayflower and others, when they were coming to find the new land over here, they had glass blowing equipment on them because
Oh
uh,
really?
Oh
yeah,
wow.
it was the resources necessary to run a glass blowing studio, the timber, to run the furnaces. It was it's just played such a significant role. And then there was the whole industrial revolution, and then that changed everything with glass. And then eventually, in the 60s, 70s, there was this new movement called the studio art movement,
Okay.
where it went from, where all glass blowing was done in these huge factories and warehouses, and then there were artists began to emerge from these factories, and they were able to do these little smaller operations in their homes or small businesses, and that's where the current kind of art glass movement in the United States spawned from those times in the 70s. Then there was this little pocket of glass blowers up in the Washington area, in Seattle area, and Chihuly and those guys. And that was really where my inspiration came from for learning this process. So I'll say, what we do now is we just have a small electric furnace. So there's a little crucible that sits in this little electric furnace, and we source this post-industrial scrap material. So
Oh right on.
we take broken flat glass that's made for like architectural application, for making tiles and different stained glass stuff,
Oh
or
wow.
windows, and that's shipped all over the world. We buy the scrap and we ship it up here in these 2,000 pound sugar bags,
Wow.
and we're able to melt that in our little furnace. And essentially, another part is the color. Like, we're super lucky that for centuries, there's these companies that have been making glass color, and so it's a simple matter of just purchasing. It's like a catalog. We're able to choose all these beautiful colors from,
Nice,
and then
nice.
we add that to the melted glass that comes out of this little crucible, the recycled glass. And the truth is, pretty much anything can be made out of glass depending on one's skill level.
Oh wow.
My skill set is pretty narrow. I would say that I'm an expert at what I do and
Hmm.
making these pipes and bongs mostly,
Right.
um, but if you have the right practiced hand and the right skill and the right vision, you can make anything, including, I've recently seen this guy, Garmazy, that's out there, do life size dinosaurs,
Oh
velociraptors.
That's
wow. That's
sick.
crazy.
It's really, honestly, it's insane, the level of detail and the amount of skill when it's talking about sculpting and different
Right.
functions of different pieces. So it's a beautiful art, glass blowing, craft as well. And there's just so many, whether it's just for the sake of art, or whether it's for, tableware, or, even all, like, for instance, as an example, historically, windows in the Middle Ages, they were all made with hand blown glass. They were all the windows.
Oh
If
wow.
you had a window back in the day, 500 years ago, it was made in pretty much exactly the same process that I make the same bowls that we're making today.
Oh
Wow.
nice.
So it's it's cool, man. It's an absolute, it's one of a kind. There's nothing else like glass anywhere on the planet. It's a liquid. It's a solid. It's colorful.
It's
Um,
like almost like a jack of all trades material.
Jack of all trades material. Yep.
Um, how did you come by glass blowing, and what made you decide to take it on as a career?
Well, Eugene, Oregon here is the birthplace of the modern day glass movement. When I say that, as the functional glass art movement, with iconic pioneers such as Bob Snodgrass that lives here, and others that were a part of that kind of that time period when they started making glass pipes.
Hmm.
Um, and Eugene is just like a hippie kind of like pot smoking enclave,
Nice, nice.
and so again, those guys were all in school in the 70s and they were learning their craft and they were following the dead and making pipes. And, a lot of them ended up here in Eugene or were from this area. Uh, and so at a very early and very influential age, I started seeing these artists making these pieces that I coveted and I began to start purchasing, when I was 16, 17, and they were some of the very first of their kind. And um, I would say that I was pretty much born with an entrepreneurial kind of spirit. I think that most of my life I knew that I wanted to work for myself somehow. And when I saw other young people, so there's like this tree, the family tree, um, of glass blowers. The whole kind of history of this modern age of glass blowing pipe making is part of this tree where people
Oh, right on.
there was the original founder Snodgrass, his team, and he taught a handful of people, and then those guys taught a handful of people, and somewhere along that tree was kind of where some of the guys that I learned from and was influenced from when I was
Wow.
18, 19,
Right
and
on.
graduating from high school and thinking about what I wanted to do. And I just saw this opportunity to be able to do something fun and creative and work for myself. And I've just basically been trying to pursue that dream ever since then.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So talking about your, stepping into this, did you need to get into any kind of like schooling courses to be able to start your craft?
I did not personally. I have taken a sculpting class at some point in my career, but I never did go to school for it. I had a small inheritance that I used while I was in Seattle. I was 25. So I knew I wanted to become a glassblower when I was about 19. But it took me a good 5, 6 years just kind of working odd jobs and studying this and that, but not glassblowing until finally I had the opportunity. I met some like-minded individuals and I had some money and they were artists. They would knew how to make bongs and I wanted to build a glass blowing studio. So in 1998, at age of 25, we just all came together and built a small glass blowing studio and started making and selling bongs together.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh, nice, nice.
Eh,
That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, and
So,
and, and
sorry, go
I
ahead.
will say real quick. I will say real quick. That was in Seattle, Washington,
Hmm.
and it just so happens though that it was a different type of glass blowing than what I had originally thought that I would be doing. So there's two different kinds of worlds of glass blowing. There's the borosilicate, kind of the hard glass stuff that is part of this modern day movement. And then there's the soft glass, which is this ancient process that was kind of really less known for the functional side of pipes and bongs.
Hmm.
And But I just kind of happened to fall in with that crowd while I was up there. And so that's why I went down the path of soft glass, which is unique to this industry of pipes and bongs. I'm one of very few American glass workers that makes us that makes pipes and bongs in this soft glass process.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. The question though is why bongs and pipes?
Um, well, again, growing up in Eugene, part of the culture here, and just that feeling. Honestly, it was that feeling that I had when I held my first color changing pipe in my hand.
Oh, I love those things.
Yeah, yeah, it was sick, man. It was like magic. It was really, and I still get that feeling. Even this weekend, I was hanging out with some artists, and they were making these really cool, intricate lines, and these colors where they're doing the silver fuming like Snodgrass did back in the day, and the color changing stuff. And I don't know, there's just like a visceral kind of feeling sometimes when you pick up the glass and you're looking at it, and you just there's this attachment to it, and then you get to smoke out of it, and just the 420 culture itself and the plant itself is such a beautiful plant, and I've enjoyed, you know, I partake still every day a little bit, and it just feels good, man. Gets me in the zone and
Cheers.
relaxes me, and
Oh yeah.
I
Cheers.
get happy, and so it's just kind of the combination of the art and the plant together, making cool stuff. So
Nice, nice.
yeah.
What would you say like what does your inventory look like for the shop and like what you do and how hard is it to keep up with demands?
Well, that is one of the great joys of my business is I love managing my inventory. I love making the inventory. It's a constant revolving door. Like when I do my taxes at the end of each year, I don't have any inventory to show. It is
Okay, okay.
within 2 weeks of making a piece, it's sold. That's pretty
Wow.
much
Nice.
every piece that I've ever made, like 20, eventually it sells, but generally speaking, it sells pretty fast. And generally speaking, with the experience that I have, I pretty much I I know where the product is going. So it from day to day it changes a little bit. Occasionally I'm working ahead and just building inventory and putting stuff on my shelves that might not necessarily have an exact destination in mind when I make it. But
Right.
also half the time, I'm filling orders,
Mhm.
and so that is a huge part of my business. Is I will say that half of my business is business to business, and the other half is direct to consumer.
Oh, right
And
on.
and that direct to the consumer part has went from 0 to 50% of my business over the last 6 years
Oh, wow.
as the laws changed, and I became more comfortable doing a website and shipping across state lines. And I've seen a huge growth, and social media too. I mean, I'd been dabbling in social media beginning like 13 years ago, but it was not until about 6 years ago that we started selling glass on those platforms, and
Oh,
that was
wow.
big. So we currently, when it comes to managing inventory and what I'm going to make, a big part of it is creating inventory for the people that I know are going to be buying directly from us, our direct consumer stuff. And a lot of those sales are happening on Instagram during these live sales events that we do. We are a really well established community that supports us and watches us go live. And we do these little pop up sales events. And so making the pieces each day for those particular events is one of my favorite parts of the day, because those collectors are the ones that really give me the most direct feedback on different ideas and things I should be trying and stuff they want to buy.
Okay,
And
okay.
that is a huge motivator for me. It is just hearing direct feedback. We also go live while we're glass blowing,
Oh,
and
nice.
and I get a huge amount of fuel for our creative process while we're live, and people from all over the world. As an example, we had 37,000 people watch us blow glass today.
Wow.
We were live for an hour on TikTok today, and 37,000 people from all over the world. Over 400 comments on there,
Wow.
and half of them are, they're throwing ideas, they're spitballing ideas, and sometimes like we're in the moment and we're using those ideas that are coming through,
Right.
and we're taking them and using them in the moment and making pieces out of suggestions that are coming from our audience and
Mhm.
people. They could be anywhere in the world. So um
That's super cool.
as far as like, yeah, I mean, every day it's the same, but it's also different. We're making one of one unique pieces, and then we're also doing wholesale stuff where I'm trying to make 10 pieces that are really super similar, because that's what the store wanted, that I'm shipping them off to.
Right.
So
That's
Uh,
awesome.
nice.
yeah.
Well, before we get into the heat of it, we're going to take a moment for you to hit pause, take a pee break, make a coffee, and take a moment to hear from our sponsors. Don't hit that dial. We'll be right back. Narrated by Justin Plaxton, this 3-hour Audible experience is deeply personal, beautifully performed, and currently rated 5 stars. If you or someone you love has ever struggled with mental health, this story matters. Psychosis and the Journey Home isn't just a book. It's a reminder that even in our darkest moments, healing is possible, and we are never truly alone. You can find it now on Audible.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Kris, aka the Bong Father. I'm a glass blower out of Eugene, Oregon, and you're listening to Weird Careers with Eric and Steve.
Weird Careers has been playing in your ears now for over 5 years, and we will continue to bring you high quality content for the years to come. It takes a lot of time and resources to create a show like Weird Careers, booking guests, hours of editing, and even more time prepping. To continue to bring this show to you for free, we have added a subscription service to those who are able. With Buy Me a Coffee, you get ad-free, early episodes, participation in live recordings, and more. All for $9 a month or $80 a year, and it costs less than most streaming services. Head over to buymeacoffee.com/Weird Careers Podcast and start your 7-day free trial today. Thank you for supporting Weird Careers. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Weird Careers. Steve and I are here with Kris, the Bong Father, who is a glassblower out of Eugene, Oregon. Welcome back, Kris.
Yes, thank you very much.
Walk us through a day in the shop, from the day that you walk through the doors to open up to the moment you leave the shop. What does that look like for you?
Okay, beautiful. I love my daily process, man. I just
Oh yeah.
I wake up each morning so excited to get my day going. So Um, it is an early start for me. I'm in the shop at about 5:30 a.m.,
Oh
each
wow.
morning.
Nice.
I'm the
Wow.
first one in the door. And that first hour and a half. Well, here's okay. What I'm most excited about each and every day is unloading the oven from the day before. And so that
Oh
is a
yeah.
that is a great motivator for me each morning to get into the shop, because that's the first time I get to really pick up and hold and look close at an entire day worth of work. When you make it, when you're making the oven, it's 900 degrees and you're working fast, you're moving on to the next one, and I might have an idea that I made something pretty cool, but you never really know the quality of what is the piece, the colors exactly, size and shape. Like it's not until the next day. So I get in, and the first half hour of my morning, every morning, is it's like a ritual. I mean, it's as close to religion as I get, honestly. Just that process of unloading the oven, and it includes smoking a little bowl, and it
Hey.
includes nice hot coffee,
Nice,
and
nice.
and handling each and every glass piece and getting to look at each and every glass piece from the day before. And usually it's about 50. I would say there's about 50 pieces that we
Oh,
Nice.
made
wow.
Wow.
from the day. So um once I get my oven unloaded, and also that is necessary to get that unloaded, because the oven itself, it takes about an hour and a half for it to heat up. So by then, it's about 6 o'clock. I turn on the oven, and I'll spend the next hour and a half cleaning and preparing, um, and getting my color set up. I'll write down, like tomorrow, for instance, we're gonna melt an orange color in our furnace for the very first time, and
Oh,
so that's
cool.
Oh,
why
nice.
you see pumpkin and oranges and carrots on there. So every day is a different color and a different theme, different products that we want to make with those colors. So yeah, there's also a lot of sweeping, cleaning, that's a part of that, and it's just all part of being in the zone, and getting um just being ready. So around 7:15, the team starts to show up, and I have 6 employees, and of those 6 employees, 4 of them are dedicated glass blowers, and they start showing up at 7:15, and by 7:30 my entire team is here. I have the studio hot and ready. I've got a list of stuff that we're going to make. I've got a plan. I kind of sit everybody down for a quick second, and I say, this is what we're doing. And for the next 3 or 4 hours, we spend in heavy production.
Nice,
Super,
nice.
super dynamic, fast paced glassing. At 9 o'clock, Julia shows up, and pretty much right away, we're gonna be go. We know we're gonna go live, and we're gonna share. We're gonna open our studio to the world, and we're gonna go live on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and X. All different platforms at different times, and that we could, of the 4 hours that we're glass blowing, we could be live on one of our platforms for probably at least an hour and a half
Nice.
of the
Right on.
day, is sharing our process with the world, and it's really special. Like, we really, I honestly, personally, take so much pride in that part of the entertainment and education of the glass blowing and sharing our process. And we work fast. We work fast and in a really fun, exciting, and dynamic way
Nice.
that is really palpable, that people really enjoy watching. And by that time, usually it's about 1 o'clock. I scheduled our podcast here for 1:30, because that is the transition my day from glass blowing to the second half of my day, which would include any sort of business calls, content creation outside of the glass blowing,
Right.
processing of the pieces, building orders,
Hmm.
and just really everything else that goes along with running a small business. And it's a lot, and quite often it's 12-hour days for me.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't want it. I really wouldn't want it any other way.
Right.
I'm still able to make time for those other things that I've described that I enjoy, with getting out in the woods and exercising. But if I'm starting at 5:30 and I'm getting home at 6, that's a pretty average work day for me. And
Right on.
there's a lot to get done in a day. So
Oh, yeah.
No
yep,
kidding. Yeah,
Um,
that's a busy day.
yep.
oh, would you be able to walk us through the process of creating one of your pieces?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Beyond like the imagination that goes into knowing what you want to create and getting the studio set up and the color and everything in place, every single piece starts with a gather of glass. So
Right.
we have these 5-foot long blowpipes. They're
Hmm.
hollow. One end is the tip where you gather the glass on, and the other end is the tip where you blow through, hollow inside, and you just simply dip in picture, kind of like a honey stick. You dip that gathering ball in the honey, and you dunk it down in there, and you turn it, and then you kind of bring it up perpendicular to the ground or parallel to the ground, and you keep it turning, and the glass just kind of stays on there. And so once you've gathered and put some glass on there, then you choose what colors to put on there, and then basically from there, as I was mentioned earlier, just really depending on your level of skill, you can make just about anything. For me and our production process, our team process, I'm not the one that is actually gathering the glass. So I have someone that works for me his role is the starter. He starts the piece.
Okay.
So he gathers the glass, and he'll put the color on it. He'll even put a little bubble in there and then hand it off to me. And once I receive the start, then 90% of the time what I'm making is a bong. And I also have a signature thing that I do on these pieces. It's the wrap that goes on there. So that is,
Oh, nice.
it's more than just decorative. It has function. It serves as a nice grip, and sometimes we turn those into handles, and it provides a nice stable base on there. And so
So it's
that
functional as well as aesthetically pleasing.
absolutely. That is another person on the team that does that. Also, there's the mouthpiece that needs to be finished by an expert. There's the down stem hole that also needs to be finished with a practiced hand.
Okay.
And so, between all those things, that 4 to 5. I have a bench assistant also that is blowing into the piece, that is using little torches, helping me with my tools, keeping my bench organized, getting my coffee. Just we call that position the grease, because they're just keeping things rolling smooth.
Nice.
So honestly, the analogy that I have, that I love to use, because sport has been a big thing in my life. Most people have heard of basketball, the 3-man weave.
Yep.
But also occasionally you might do, ours is like a 5-man weave. So the starter starts with the ball, and then he passes it off to me, and then I'll pass it off to my one assistant, and then it'll get passed off to the finisher at the end. And then instead of the ball going in the hoop at the end of the court, it's the bong that's going away into the oven. And so our glass blowing process is very much like a 5-person weave.
Love that.
That's going back and forth up and down the court, just putting pieces away.
Yeah, very teamwork oriented.
Yep.
Nice.
So you've been blowing glass now for 30 years and change.
The actual techniques of blowing glass have not changed over the last several thousand years. However, have you seen a change in technology since you've started blowing glass? Like I said, you've been doing this for 30 plus years.
I would say, yeah, in technology, not so much. Definitely within our industry and trends. Now, there's definitely been a lot of trends. There's definitely been advancements in our process that have seen our products evolve over the time. But still, as far as like the equipment and the tools and the material, those are mostly unchanged. The furnaces are still fed by electric or natural gas. They're still built out of refractory. The formula for glass hasn't changed. The tools are ancient. The tools haven't changed for thousands of years. We're using exactly the same tools they've been using.
Nice.
That's fascinating.
So there's small things that people have figured out. But also, yeah, I mean, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Like it doesn't seem like much on a grand scheme of things, but like specifically with our industry, I'll just use this as an example.
Mhm.
For the first like 20 years of the modern day glass move, functional glass pipes and bongs, smoking, flower, smoking the buds, was just the what everybody was doing. But also 15 years ago, people really started using more of the concentrates, the dabs, and there was a time in like 2006 or seven when if you walked into a head shop, the entire sales wall would be filled with bongs,
Yep.
and then within a few
Oh wow.
within a few years, it was there were all what were called like rigs, and rig is just an expression for a piece that is something that is used for concentrates rather
Mhm.
than the flour, which is what you would use the bong for. So just as an example, like that's not technology changing. That's just kind of like a trend. But
Right.
uh, within that, though, a lot of people really got into like airflow and the science behind airflow. um, so there, it's fun because it does keep you on your toes, staying current with the different trends. And um, it's a small thing, but also specifically for us, for a long time, our downstem holes, we needed to use a rubber grommet to create a good seal. And then at some point, some of the glass workers started using these scientific round joints, which
Hmm.
scientists were using. And
Mhm.
so eventually, we were able to, after 15 years of making bongs, develop a little process where we're using scientific ground joints in ours,
Oh,
and
nice.
there's no rubber. So that just what that was an advancement for us. I wouldn't call it new technology, but it was an advancement in our process, and it made our product much more sellable, viable, easy to clean and replace.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best thing about what you do? And is there any sort of downside to it all?
Well, the best thing that I do is that I make art for the people. It's really affordable art. It's not cheap, but the average retail cost of a piece that I make is probably $75.
Okay.
And people love the glass. They just love it. They name their glass. They have collections. They take a lot of pride in it. You get a really there's just a sense of enjoyment when you're drinking out of something or smoking out of something that you know is handmade by somebody that put a lot of love into it. And so being a part of that kind of vibration is I think is really special
Mhm.
actually.
Right
And
on.
what one of the things that I have take the most pride in the fact that I've made 500,000 pipes and bongs.
Wow.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
That's amazing.
you could literally, if you were to take every stadium seat in Oregon and Washington, high school, college, and professional, I've made enough bongs to fill every seat of every stadium in the state of Oregon and Washington.
Wow,
Wow,
that's
that's
There,
awesome.
amazing.
there's literally a pipe or bong of mine on every city block in every city in the Northwest.
That's amazing.
I have built and created a lot of goodwill, with the people putting art into their hands,
Yeah.
something that they enjoy and take pride in. And so that fills my soul. So that's the favorite part of it for me.
Nice. And is there any like downside to it at all or not so
Yeah,
much?
profitability is really honestly very hard.
Mhm.
Overhead. is
Right.
very high. Business itself is really challenging.
Mhm.
Um, if paying employees, which also I take a huge amount of pride in, is supporting families and
Yep.
giving people a comfortable and fun, dynamic place to work. But paying them a fair wage that helps support their family is very challenging. And running a business in a profitable way is very challenging. So, I don't think I don't actually make very much like per hour. Like I said,
Right.
I'm working 12 hours a day. And so the biggest challenge is profitability. Throughout 30 years of glass blowing, that has been the biggest challenge
Right.
is turning glass into cash is not there's been times when it's been easy. We had 2 years during COVID where we, as a company, were doing over $1 million in sales. I did
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
1.2 million dollars in sales in 2001, and that was a very profitable year. But also, we were just growing so fast, trying to keep up with demand, and my costs also skyrocketed during those times, trying to
Right.
keep up, and so scaling up and then eventually scaling down. And there's just there's really no blueprint, like, so
Mhm.
that's what's fun. We're literally making it up as we go every day, trying to adapt and survive, really.
Right.
To anybody who wants to get into the glass blowing industry, do you have any tips or advice for them?
Well, there's a bunch of different ways to get into glass blowing. If you're fortunate enough to have the money to go to a university or college, you could find a good university and take a glass blowing program there. Also, if you're a real hustler and maybe your path is a different, more like you want to just kind of work your way up, I would say that anybody with the right attitude and the right work ethic could present themselves to one of these different studios, and you start sweeping the floors, and you just generally being a helpful person that is eager and willing to work hard and do whatever is asked of them, can also find a place in glass, because I'm speaking personally. If someone comes to me with the right attitude and eagerness and work ethic, and there's also um there's also skill versus talent. Like, there's some people that actually have an innate natural talent for it,
Mhm.
and you might be able to advance really quickly, actually, if you understand the medium. Some people sit down on a bench and they think they're going to be amazing at glass blowing. It looks simple, but then they're just end up being mesmerized and overwhelmed by different aspects of it. So
Mhm.
it generally takes a lot of practice and a lot of repetition. You could choose to go into it thinking, I'm going to work my way up as an assistant, and this or that, or you could say, I'm gonna go straight for making my own pieces and selling my own pieces. But you would have to have a certain amount of financing to be able to make that, to make an effort at like that. So it kind of just depends on how much time you have, what your goal is, and basically also, do you have the money to pay for the education, or do you need to work your way up the ladder
Right.
another way? So,
Right on.
yep.
Before we've got one more question before we let you go here. But before we get to that, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for coming on today. It's been
Yeah. Thanks.
absolute pleasure chatting with you. I've learned a lot about glass blowing.
I thought I knew a lot from watching Blown Away, but it looks like there's more I can learn.
But let's put our brains back a little bit. Let's go back in time. When you were 7 or 8, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Ooh. um, well, at 7 or 8, I wasn't thinking about wanting to be anything. I know that for sure. But I will say those are some of the best times of my life. And just being able, I love the sense of freedom. I love being able to explore, try new things. I love being outside. So I'm not sure how that really relates to glass blowing. I definitely, one thing I'll say for sure is that I never in a million years, even through high school, thought that I would be an artist. Um, I'm more of a process guy. I love efficiency, and I loved sport and the coordination. I'm very coordinated, and I think that the desire for me to develop processes that were fast and efficient, and that it turned out that it ended up being glass blowing, but. Yeah, I just always wanted to. As a kid growing up, I wanted to like invent things. I guess I
Nice.
wanted to be a part of making things efficient.
Mhm.
I love the idea of building something. I've always kind of also had the mindset of a builder, not necessarily like construction, but
Mhm.
ideas. And being able to. It's one thing that I think to be able to have a good idea, but then it's another thing to be able to plan and execute an
Mhm.
idea, and we get to do that every day.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And so I do I like that I just like creator builder. Um, that's kind of how I identify. Probably always have identified.
And here you are doing exactly that.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, Kris, for coming onto the show today. It's been an absolute treat and a pleasure to get to sit and talk to you.
Oh yeah, it's been super fun.
Well, thank you. And I will say it is a great pleasure for me, and vital to my business to be able to share like this and to reach new audiences. And you guys allowing me the opportunity to share is very important and valuable. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. Have you ever thought about your career? Do you think it would be worth a chat with us? If you think that you or someone you know may have a weird career, shoot us an email at weirdcareerspodcast@gmail.com. You may be surprised just how interesting your job is.
You can also support us on buymeacoffee.com. For $9 a month, you will get early access to episodes, sitting in on interviews, behind-the-scenes access, and much more. It's cheaper than most streaming services, and you will be supporting a small local business. Donations are never expected, but are always appreciated.
Oh, and don't forget to follow us on the socials, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Weird Careers Podcast. Until next time, I'm Eric,
And I'm Steve.
and remember to follow your dreams.